When we speak about Kobe Bryant, it is easy to look at the numbers. 5 NBA championships, 2 Olympic gold medals, and over 33,000 points. These statistics are impressive, but they are just the surface. For us, the thinkers, these numbers are simply the result of something deeper. Kobe Bryant is not just a famous athlete. He is a blueprint for understanding the psychology of greatness. He proves that success is not an accident. It is not just talent. It is a choice. He called this the Mamba Mentality. This was not just a marketing slogan for selling shoes. It was a philosophy of self-creation. It means constantly trying to be the best version of yourself, regardless of the pain, the sacrifice, or the cost. Kobe built himself. Not overnight. Not by luck. By design. In this story, we will analyze the evolution of his personality. We will watch a lonely boy in Italy transform into a confident, sometimes brash superstar. Then, we will see that intense competitor mature into a wise leader and a gentle father. It is a journey from isolation to ego, and finally, to wisdom. But before the lights and the championships, there was silence. To understand his mind, we must travel back to where it all began, to a quiet life in Italy. In the 1980s, while other future NBA stars were running the streets of American cities, 6-year-old Kobe Bryant lived in a completely different world. Rieti, Italy. His father, Joe "Jellybean" Bryant, had moved the family to continue his professional basketball career. For young Kobe, this was a massive change. He was the only African-American child in his school. He did not speak Italian. He did not know the culture. This moment shaped his mind. Kobe faced a choice: feel sorry for himself or adapt. He chose adaptation. Because he could not speak to other children at first, he turned inward. He learned to enjoy silence and to rely on himself. While other kids depended on friends for fun and support, Kobe discovered he could find joy and purpose in his own focus and imagination. On the basketball court, he found a language that transcended words. The ball became his way to communicate, to connect, and to express himself. Italy also shaped his basketball education. Unlike the United States, where young players were often praised for speed and jumping ability, Italian basketball emphasized fundamentals: footwork, passing angles, shooting mechanics, and strategic thinking. Kobe could not rely on natural athleticism alone. He had to learn the science of the game, step by step. Because he often had no one to practice with, Kobe developed a powerful imagination. He would spend hours alone in the gym or at the park, playing entire games against his shadow. He visualized opponents, imagined the clock ticking down, and rehearsed winning shots again and again. These hours of solitary practice became a sanctuary, a place where he could control the world and build confidence. Even as a child, Kobe understood something important. Working while others rested was the path to mastery. In the quiet gyms of Italy, he began constructing his inner world, brick by brick. This mental foundation, the combination of discipline, imagination, and self-reliance, would carry him through the challenges to come. But this quiet life could not last forever. Soon, the Bryant family would return to the United States, where Kobe would face his first real identity crisis. When Kobe was 13, his family returned to Philadelphia. If Italy had been a quiet sanctuary, Philadelphia was a loud, chaotic reality check. For the first time, Kobe faced not only a new school and new friends, but a completely different basketball culture. Although he was American, he felt like a foreigner in his own country. He did not understand the slang, the style, or the social rules of teenagers. Labeled the kid from Italy, he once again found himself on the outside. The biggest shock, however, came on the basketball court. Kobe joined the famous Sunny Hill League, a summer competition for the best young players in the city. He expected to compete. Instead, he later said that throughout that summer, he couldn't score. A humiliating reality check that exposed how unprepared he was for the physical, aggressive American game. For most teenagers, this kind of experience would have been crushing. Many would have quit. Kobe did not. He analyzed the failure with cold logic. The other boys were not more talented. They were simply accustomed to a tougher style of play. Kobe made one of the most important decisions of his young life. He would replace reliance on talent with deliberate, measurable work. He committed himself to focused practice, repeating specific moves hundreds of times until they became automatic. He turned that summer into fuel. By the time he reached high school, the boy who once couldn't score had transformed into one of the best players in the country. At 17, Kobe took an even bigger leap. He declared for the NBA draft directly from high school. In 1996, this was extremely rare. Skeptics questioned whether a skinny teenager could survive among grown men. The psychological pressure was immense. But Kobe's mindset was unique, a mix of curiosity, arrogance, and relentless focus. He did not just want to play in the NBA, he wanted to master it. The league, however, was merciless. His rookie year included long stretches on the bench, forcing him to learn patience and humility. His first real test came during the 1997 playoffs against the Utah Jazz. In the final seconds, with millions watching, the Lakers trusted the 18-year-old rookie to take the winning shot. Kobe fired and missed. The ball flew through the air, missing everything. Again. 4 shots. 4 air balls. The crowd booed. The media laughed. Most players would have crumbled under such public failure. Kobe did not. He treated failure as data, not shame. The airballs were not evidence of his lack of talent. They were a signal that he needed more strength, endurance, and skill. That very night, while his teammates rested, Kobe went to the gym before dawn and practiced until exhaustion. He had turned his worst moment into the foundation of his work ethic. This was the beginning of a lifelong pattern. Failure was not a wall, it was a guide. Each setback taught him something. But just as he was learning this lesson, Kobe was about to meet his next challenge, the one that would test his patience, his ego, and his leadership even more. Shaquille O'Neal. After the humiliation of the airball game, Kobe's work ethic became even more intense. He had proven to himself that failure was only temporary if he worked harder. But basketball is a team sport, and soon Kobe faced a new challenge: sharing the court with the most dominant player in the world, Shaquille O'Neal. From a psychological perspective, Kobe and Shaq were complete opposites. Shaq was a natural force, huge, powerful, and gifted. He loved joking, having fun, and enjoying life. Kobe, in contrast, was a force of will. He was serious, obsessive, and believed that resting was a sign of weakness. Where Shaq relaxed, Kobe pushed. Where Kobe stressed, Shaq laughed. This difference created inevitable tension. Kobe saw Shaq's easygoing attitude as laziness. Shaq saw Kobe's intensity as arrogance. They were both alpha personalities, each trying to lead in his own way. Off the court, the tension simmered. On the court, it threatened to destroy the team's potential. Their salvation came in the form of Phil Jackson, a coach who understood psychology better than most. Jackson could not force them to like each other, but he created a system, the triangle offense, that demanded cooperation. The offense required precise spacing and movement. If Kobe was covered, he had to pass to Shaq. If Shaq was double-teamed, he had to rely on Kobe. The system removed ego from the equation, turning friction into fuel for the team. Together, Kobe and Shaq won 3 consecutive NBA championships from 2000 to 2002. They were unstoppable on the court. Yet off the court, the tension was unsustainable. Kobe's early leadership flaws became clear. He expected teammates to match his obsession, had little patience, and often led through fear rather than trust. He was learning, but the lessons were painful. By 2004, the tension reached a breaking point. Shaq was traded to Miami, leaving Kobe as the undisputed leader of the Lakers. For the first time, he had total control. But control came with a hidden cost. Without Shaq to challenge him, Kobe would face a new kind of trial, a personal storm that would test his mind, his identity, and his very sense of self. The next 2 years would test him like never before. In 2003, Kobe Bryant became the center of a sexual assault allegation in Colorado that drew intense global attention. A 19-year-old hotel employee accused him of rape. The case quickly dominated international headlines. Bryant was formally charged and arrested, appearing in court under constant media scrutiny. Details of the case became widely public, placing his private life under relentless examination and creating one of the most severe personal crises of his career. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Several major sponsors, including McDonald's, distanced themselves from Bryant during this period. Fans who once cheered now booed. The media dissected his character relentlessly. His marriage hung by a thread. Even after the criminal case was dropped and a civil settlement was reached, the damage was done. His reputation was shattered. His private life was under a microscope. Trust, from the public, from his wife, from himself, had been broken. For most people, this level of public shame and personal crisis would be unbearable. For Kobe, it was a psychological storm unlike anything he had faced on the court. No amount of practice could fix this. No fadeaway jumper could make it disappear. He was forced to confront not just failure, but his own flaws as a human being. He realized something important. He could not survive this chaos as just Kobe Bryant. The pain was too personal. The accusations cut too deep. To cope, he created a mental shield. He split his identity into 2. One was the man confronting public scrutiny, the heartbreak, the shame, and the long, difficult work of repairing his marriage and his character. The other was a new persona, an assassin on the court with no fear, no doubts, and no mercy. He called this version of himself the Black Mamba. The Black Mamba was more than a nickname. It was a way of thinking. Kobe defined it with 5 core pillars that shaped his every action. Passion, loving the game even in the darkest times. Obsession, thinking about basketball constantly, 24/7. Relentlessness, never stopping even when exhausted or already successful. Resilience, bouncing back immediately from failure. Fearlessness, facing challenges head-on, no matter the risk. During this period, Kobe performed feats few athletes have ever matched. Most famously, he scored 81 points in a single game, the second highest total in NBA history. Yet, despite these incredible achievements, the Lakers were not winning championships. He was the lonely hero, dominating individually but isolated from true team joy. Every night in quiet gyms, he refined his craft, perfecting moves while others rested. Every missed shot, every lost game, every public criticism became data, lessons to fuel the Mamba within. He learned that mental toughness was not just surviving pain, it was turning it into power. But even with all this, Kobe had not yet learned the most difficult lesson: how to trust others. That lesson would come from a new kind of teammate and a new teacher, setting the stage for a remarkable rebirth. By 2008, the Black Mamba had proven he could score against anyone. He could dominate the court alone. But championships require more than brilliance. They require trust, patience, and connection. Kobe still played as a lone warrior. To evolve, he needed a new environment, one that would challenge not just his body, but his mind. That environment arrived in Beijing at the 2008 Olympics with the USA Redeem Team. For the first time in years, Kobe was surrounded by superstars: LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, and other players who were just as talented and famous as he was. Psychologically, this was a test. He could no longer lead through fear or intimidation. He had to find a new way to influence his peers. The turning point came off the court. One night in Las Vegas, while the team went out to party, Kobe went to the gym. Hours later, when the others woke for breakfast, they saw him dripping with sweat, knees iced, already finished with a full workout. He did not scold them. He did not complain. He simply led by example. Within days, LeBron and Wade joined him in those early mornings. Kobe realized a powerful truth: leadership is contagious behavior, not loud commands. He carried this lesson back to the Los Angeles Lakers, especially in his relationship with Pau Gasol. In the past, Kobe might have judged Gasol as soft. This time he chose connection over criticism. He visited Gasol's hotel room late at night, spoke to him in Spanish, and reassured him, "We are going to the finals, and we are going to win." He treated Gasol as a partner, not a subordinate, and built trust through understanding and support. Kobe had transformed. He was no longer a solo genius, he was a team architect. He learned to adapt his communication to his teammates' personalities, rather than forcing them to match his own intensity. With this new mindset, the Lakers were united, and Kobe was ready to climb the next mountain. This time, the challenge would test not just his skill or strength, but his mind, strategy, and emotional mastery, the foundation for the years of absolute championship dominance that lay ahead. By 2009, Kobe Bryant had grown into more than just a basketball player. His body was still athletic, but his true weapon had become his mind. He had learned to approach basketball not only as a game, but as a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to master with strategy, focus, and intellect. During this period, Kobe's curiosity extended far beyond the court. He wanted to understand what made people successful in every field. He became known for cold calling the most creative and powerful people in the world. He called Joni Ive at Apple to learn about product design. He called Oprah Winfrey to ask about leadership. He even called J.K. Rowling to discuss storytelling. Each conversation was like research, each lesson a tool to sharpen his own mind. He realized that the principles of greatness were universal. Whether designing a product or winning an NBA title, discipline, focus, and preparation were key. Kobe applied this philosophy to basketball with surgical precision. He studied hours of game film, analyzed every move of every opponent, and developed strategies to exploit even the smallest weaknesses. This mental preparation faced its ultimate test in the 2010 NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics, a series that would become legendary. The Celtics were physical, disciplined, and unyielding. Every possession felt like a battle. The series went to a decisive Game 7. For most players, the pressure of that moment could crush confidence. For Kobe, it was a test of everything he had learned. In that game, his shooting was poor. He missed 18 of 24 shots, but the 2010 Kobe did not panic. He reminded himself, "If I cannot score, I will do everything else." He focused on defense, rebounding, and supporting his teammates. He grabbed 15 rebounds, trusted Pau Gasol to score, and led by willpower rather than points. His mental control turned a poor shooting night into a victory, proving that mastery of the mind can outweigh temporary failure. With this championship, Kobe reached the peak of his career. His combination of physical skill and psychological wisdom was unmatched. Yet, beneath the triumph, his body was sending signals that would challenge him like never before. The years of relentless training, the early mornings, and the obsessive drive had left a price to pay. The next battle would not be on the scoreboard. It would be inside his own body. By 2013, Kobe Bryant was facing a battle that no amount of willpower could fully control, the battle against his own body. 17 seasons of relentless training, travel, and competition had left their mark. His fingers were broken, his knees ached constantly, and chronic back pain followed him like a shadow. For most people, pain is a warning to stop. For Kobe, it was a signal to focus. He lived by a terrifying philosophy. My mind can push my body farther than it wants to go. He believed that the strength of his mind could override the limits of flesh. But that year, reality delivered a lesson even he could not ignore. During a game against the Golden State Warriors, Kobe drove to the basket and felt a sudden, searing pain in the back of his leg. It was as if someone had kicked him from nowhere. His Achilles tendon had ruptured. In basketball, this is often a career-ending injury. Most players would have been carried off the court, but not Kobe. He stood up, wincing with every step, and limped to the free throw line. The Lakers were down by 2 points. In his mind, leaving the game was not an option. Ignoring the agony, he sank both free throws. Only then did he walk to the locker room, knowing the season was over, but proving something far greater than athletic ability, the power of unbreakable resolve. This moment deepened his connection to the only other man who understood this level of pain: Michael Jordan. Their relationship went far deeper than similar playing styles. While critics saw mimicry, the fadeaway, the tongue wag, the post moves, Kobe was studying something more fundamental: Jordan's mind. Throughout his career, Kobe called Jordan regularly, sometimes late at night, asking questions that had nothing to do with basketball mechanics. He did not ask, "How do you shoot the fadeaway?" He asked, "How do you handle pressure? How do you stay focused when everyone wants you to fail? What do you think about in the final seconds? Jordan recognized something rare in these conversations. Kobe was not seeking shortcuts or secrets. He was seeking permission to be obsessed. Jordan later said, Kobe was the only one who truly wanted to know what it felt like, not just what it looked like. This mental kinship became a bond. Jordan saw in Kobe a complete commitment, the willingness to sacrifice relationships, rest, and normalcy for excellence. When Kobe ruptured his Achilles, Jordan was one of the first to call. He understood the warrior's code. The body may break, but the mind never surrenders. Jordan called Kobe his little brother, not because of the moves, but because of the mentality. They shared an understanding that few could comprehend. Greatness is lonely, painful, and worth it. The Achilles rupture was a turning point. Kobe realized that while his mind could still conquer challenges, his body had limits it could not ignore. The warrior on the court could no longer fight indefinitely. A new chapter awaited, one that required creating, mentoring, and leading without a ball in his hands. It was time to become a different kind of champion. When Kobe Bryant retired in 2016, 3 years after the Achilles injury that had signaled his body's limits, the world wondered, what does a warrior do without a war? For most athletes, the end of a career brings confusion, loss of purpose, and emptiness. But Kobe approached retirement like any challenge, with the discipline and focus of the Mamba mentality. He found a new battlefield in storytelling. Kobe founded Granity Studios, a multimedia company dedicated to creating stories for young athletes. This was not a hobby or a casual project. It was a new craft to master. He woke up early to write scripts, study mythology, and produce films. Just as he had dissected defenders on the court, he dissected characters, plots, and worlds. In 2018, only 2 years after retiring, Kobe won an Academy Award for his animated short, Dear Basketball. This achievement proved a powerful lesson for thinkers. Discipline, curiosity, and obsession are transferable. Mastery in one field can be transformed into mastery in another. Yet his greatest evolution happened not in a studio, but on the basketball court, with a new kind of team, his daughter Gigi and her youth squad, the Mambas. Coaching 12-year-old girls required a new psychology. The intensity, fearlessness, and perfectionism that had defined him as a player could not lead here. Leadership now meant patience, explanation, and encouragement. Kobe embraced this role fully. He analyzed every play, taught the why behind every move, and celebrated small victories. He was no longer the Black Mamba seeking to destroy opponents. He was a mentor, a teacher, a builder. He discovered that nurturing another mind could be as powerful as dominating a game. In these years, Kobe found a rare kind of peace. He had successfully pivoted from competitor to creator, from obsessive scorer to patient guide. And yet, life's greatest challenge was about to remind the world how fragile even the strongest presence can be. The stage was set for his enduring legacy, one that would inspire beyond basketball, beyond competition, beyond the limits of a single life. Kobe Bryant's life was a story of relentless construction. Every hour spent in the gym, every shot taken before sunrise, every moment of mental focus, built something far larger than a player or a career. It was a mindset, a philosophy, that has outlived him, the Mamba mentality. This mentality is more than a slogan. It is a blueprint for personal mastery. Obsession, resilience, fearlessness. These are not just traits of an athlete. They are tools for anyone striving to grow, to improve, to achieve. The same focus that allowed Kobe to dominate the court can guide a writer to finish a novel, a student to conquer a difficult exam, or an entrepreneur to create something extraordinary. Kobe proved that greatness is not a gift of talent. It is a daily decision. It is waking up before the world, studying your weaknesses, practicing deliberately, and refusing to accept excuses. He showed that mastery is built brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice. His influence is everywhere. Athletes still model their training on his work ethic. Creators, thinkers, and leaders study his preparation, his discipline, his willingness to fail, learn, and try again. He left behind a universal lesson. The path to excellence is open to anyone willing to pay the price. And yet, no matter how much he built, no one expected that his story would be cut short. The world knew the Mamba Mentality. It did not know the final chapter that would forever freeze his extraordinary example in time. The lesson of Kobe Bryant was complete, but the ending would be sudden, tragic, and unforgettable. The story of Kobe Bryant is not a circle that was completed. It is a line that was tragically cut short. On January 26, 2020, the world stopped. News broke that Kobe, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others had died in a helicopter crash. Shock spread instantly across the globe. It was not only the loss of a basketball hero, it was the loss of a mentor, a creator, and a father who had finally found peace with his own identity. The psychological impact of Kobe's death was unprecedented in the history of sports. Millions of people who had never met him wept as if they had lost family. Murals appeared on walls in Los Angeles, Manila, Belgrade, São Paulo, cities across every continent. Strangers gathered at the Staples Center, leaving flowers, jerseys, and handwritten notes. NBA players broke down crying on live television. Fans in China, Italy, and Argentina held candlelight vigils. This was not typical celebrity mourning. This was collective grief on a scale rarely seen. Why? Because Kobe had shared his psychological journey so openly. He had not hidden his failures, his flaws, or his growth. People did not just admire his success. They saw themselves in his struggle. The kid who could not score a single point. The young man humiliated by airballs. The person who made terrible mistakes and had to rebuild trust. The father learning patience. His evolution was a mirror. When he died, people mourned not just a basketball player, but the embodiment of their own aspiration to become better. They mourned the proof that transformation is possible. The tragedy was made even deeper by the loss of Gigi. She was more than Kobe's daughter. She was his legacy in motion. She had inherited his discipline, his curiosity, and his relentless drive, the Mamba mentality in the next generation. Her journey was unfinished, a reminder that even the most disciplined minds cannot control destiny. Yet, even in absence, Kobe's presence endures. His life teaches us that greatness is not something you wait for. It is something you construct. Every morning, he built himself methodically, hour by hour, embracing discipline, focus, and self-mastery. The Mamba mentality was not about talent or fame. It was about the daily choice to improve, to challenge yourself, and to honor your potential. Kobe's ultimate gift is a philosophy, a psychological blueprint for life. He showed that the only person you should compete with is the person you were yesterday. That is the challenge he leaves behind for every thinker, student, and competitor. How will you build yourself today? Even though the line was cut, the journey continues. His example lives on, not just in highlights and trophies, but in the hearts and minds of those who dare to pursue greatness relentlessly. Kobe Bryant showed us that greatness is an internal job, a relentless reconstruction of the self. But what happens when the obstacle isn't inside you, but outside? What do you do when you have the discipline, but the world slams the door in your face over and over again? To complete your understanding of resilience, you must see how one man turned thousands of no's into a global empire. Click the end screen now to watch Jack Ma, the master of rejection. Thank you for thinking with us. If you want to continue building your mind, subscribe to the channel. Learn through stories, grow through listening.